You just hit play on Tech Vibe Pittsburgh, your front row seat to Pittsburgh's technology and innovation ecosystem. I'm your host, Jonathan Kirsting. I'm with the Pittsburgh Tech Council, where for nearly 30 years, I've been covering Pittsburgh's technology industry and having way too much fun doing it. Because I get to talk to folks like Larry Gioia of PwC around topics like synthetic reality, for crying out loud, right? And that's what our topic is today, no doubt about it. And are you ready to unlock the secrets of synthetic reality and how it's transforming business communication and content creation? You are, man. Absolutely. Come on. In this episode, you'll discover how the convergence of AI, avatar technology, and multimodal media is ushering in a new era of authentic, scalable digital experiences that are poised to disrupt industries. Keep on listening because Larry has some great points to go over today. You're going to understand the key differences between synthetic reality, augmented reality, and virtual reality, and how they're shaping the future of content and communication. We're going to explore the practical business applications of synthetic reality, from learning and development to security and way beyond. Finally, gain some key insights into the ethical considerations and trust-building measures surrounding the use of synthetic reality technologies. Keep on listening now to learn how you can leverage the power of synthetic reality to elevate your business and stay ahead of the curve. Let's start by welcoming Larry to Tech Vibe today. Larry, so glad to have you hanging out with me today in the Huntington Bank studios. My conversations with you are always so much fun. I always look forward to it because you're always shining light on new tech that most of us are not thinking about. And I think it's so cool. You get paid to think about all the cool stuff.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Jonathan, as always, to be back with the Tech Council.
Yeah.
And, look, I have a very unique fortune to be with a team that thinks about the future.
Totally.
But is grounded in the reality of, like, how does this tech, what's it mean for business?
Yeah.
And so it's the balance of being a realist but a futurist at the same time.
And it's so much fun because it's, for me in the Tech Council, it comes down to then turning this technology and being able to create value out of it,
Right.
make money off of it and help people and build cool solutions and stuff like that.
That's right.
So you guys just published this really cool article. It is our new synthetic reality, a term which I believe PwC coined, which I think is so cool, what it means for media and business communication. And as I went through this article, I was like, oh man, like Larry, you guys are like, first off, synthetic reality. You got to elaborate on how synthetic reality differs from augmented and virtual reality. Because I was thinking it was one and the same, but there's actually a difference, hence the new term, synthetic reality. So dang it, Larry, what is synthetic reality?
Yeah, so it's not a buzzword marketing word. Let me back up a little bit. In terms of
Sure.
kind of where this came from, Jonathan.
Yeah.
From a place of, our team has been thinking about just technology for decades.
Yeah.
The past now 10 years in a lab, we published this essential 8 technologies. I'm giving you this backdrop and our listeners the backdrop.
Surely.
Because where this was born out of it, we weren't looking for this. Most labs, you think about what's happening with AI, what's happening with AR, XR, VR, all the different,
Right.
pick your acronym du jour. And we stumbled upon this convergence of what's happening with AI, no surprise, and what's happening with media, and now really the democratization of how everyone can use this tech. And what it comes down to is we said, wait a minute, what's happening with avatar technology? What's happening with AI? These capabilities are coming together to create what is now our new synthetic reality, which is to say, look, how do we show up authentically in a digital world? It's the avatar of Jonathan, the avatar of Larry. But we do that in such a way that just makes sense for business, but also comes across in a transparent and authentic way. These are a set of capabilities. It's not one technology.
Exactly.
It's converging technology, different from putting a head-mounted display on your head, like we think about AR and VR. But the convergence of these technologies and this new way of thinking about what does this stuff mean for media, business, content creators, podcast creators, it's a pretty exciting time to be thinking about this.
Oh, it's craziness. First off, I'm jealous because you get to go to work. This is what you get to do every day is you're looking at these trends and you're synthesizing them together and thinking about how it's creating these new trends outside of it, which I think is so cool. But obviously it's the Gen AI that's really like the spine of this, right? That's allowing so much of this synthetic version to exist. Tell me more about that, how that works.
Yeah, so it's not just underpinning synthetic reality capabilities, of course, is AI, right? But let's go back in time a little bit. So the notion of digital avatars been around for quite some time.
Absolutely.
Let's just throw the words out there. The deep fakes or real fakes, whatever you want to call them, have been around for quite some time. They just really haven't been in the hands of those who are just using AI every single day outside of academia. So what we're talking about here is, yes, that the backbone of this is AI, but mixed media, the idea of using multimodal AI to create content. We see this every single day now. We're seeing videos being produced. We're seeing beyond just static pictures and images of people. How do you combine these things in such a way to use this, in this case, AI for good, where we can start thinking about creating an avatar of Jonathan so that you can now have this podcast and you can be thinking about new content? Yeah, it truly is moving to the forefront of not just AI, but multimodal AI. And then maybe we'll talk today about multi-agent AI. We can have multi-agents talking to each other in real time.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, man. Too much fun. So in your article, you mentioned there's examples like VASA 1 and Synthesia, which are some groundbreaking advancements in synthetic reality. So tell me more about those. I think our listeners, I barely know anything about this. I only read a bit in your article and I was like, okay, Larry can expand on this.
Yeah,
tell me more about this.
These are
cool.
Just a few of the technologies. Like the VASA 1 is what Microsoft, they came out. It's not even in the public domain.
Okay.
This article came out in October-ish. And at the time, since then, there's now dozens more of technologies out there.
Of course.
Commercial technologies, and obviously thinking about what's coming out of academia. At the end of the day, these models are advancing so rapidly. You think about open source models, open source technologies for the purposes of recreating someone's likeness, which has a lot of implications on the security side of things.
Yeah, that's a whole podcast onto it.
That's onto it.
Oh my God. Yeah,
exactly right. But what we're finding is the emergence of these commercial technologies. And I'm very much vendor agnostic, so less about thinking about these technologies, the name technologies, but you can find them. Not so much just go scouring GitHub, but there are technologies out there that are geared towards the enterprise that allow content creators like yourself in either a podcast or communication, PR experts to think about producing content at scale. And they're doing that using, in this case, digital avatars. And it can be very clear, Jonathan, this is not about a deep fake of somebody. This is about with someone's consent.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a big difference. Keep going on. Keep pulling that thread because I think about the fact that this is upending business in so many ways. Because if I can start creating content at scale, all these gates have been open for me that normally they'd be closed shut, or I have to go through major corporations and have to be discovered, for lack of a better term, in order to get onto a platform that the world could find me, right?
That's right.
All of a sudden, no, this can just happen because I'm Jonathan Kirsting doing this podcast and I'm using these tools.
These tools, not just for getting out into the world, but thinking about some of the use cases of learning and development. Yeah. Today, we have to go hire an actor. And this is not about replacing jobs. It's augmenting and scaling. So we talk often about, do people really scale? Sure. But does people and technology really scale? That's what this is all about. So in this case, thinking about use cases like learning and development, right? And so what we find often is, okay, I have to have an actor come in and deliver a piece of content. There's post-production involved. That's not necessarily going away, but now how can I localize that into 100 different languages? I can do that with an avatar, synthetic reality avatar. That's a very interesting use case that we see a lot.
I like to see the French version of me.
Yeah. How is your French accent? We won't go there.
Terrible.
Very nice.
I try.
So think about being able to do that instantaneously.
Yeah.
Using some of these commercial tools, right, in the enterprise. Other use cases we talk about, especially on the security side, and let's flip the script a little bit. On the other side of this is defending against these kinds of things.
Okay.
So now thinking about tabletop exercises for our CISO listeners. How do we start talking about and saying, what does a scenario look like for a state actor who might attack an enterprise? But what does that look like? Phishing, yes, that's been around, but now you're thinking about avatars permeating the enterprise. When your C-level executive says, hey, you should be thinking about, or I'm asking you to do these things, when actually that's not really who they are.
Oh my goodness.
So there's a lot of applications of this for good, but also using it as a tool or capability to thinking about defending against these kinds of things.
That's interesting you spun it that way, because my mind was immediately going towards all the bad actors out there that would use this for nefarious purposes, which is, we know it's going to happen. That's just the way the world, it's happening. That's just physics. But I love the idea that you bring up that this is something where you can do these tabletop type exercises to defend against this.
Yeah.
Being fully cognizant that there's bad actors out there that are going to be using this.
That's right.
And so that's just so cool to me. I mean, that's just one of many business applications around why this is so important.
And it really is. That's why we get to endless use cases in a consumer context or hotel and hospitality context.
Yeah.
How do you have virtual docents? These are real things, right? There's a spectrum here. We're not just talking about an avatar that's a talking head. Let's take this back to how you started this, which is around the AI. This is the AI to create the asset. But then let's take it one step further, which is, I say talking head, let's create a video that can be used to essentially do synchronous delivery of content, a video.
Yeah.
Well, let's take this one step further where we can actually connect these avatars to large language models.
Oh boy.
So now we start combining and converging conversational AI, just like I go to a chatbot today.
Okay.
But I'm simplifying to say, let's put a face on that chat box. or that box.
Right.
Now we're humanizing that experience. Now you start going down, I can now then take that beyond just a video context and I put it into a hologram. This technology is out there. There's
Okay.
many different facets of this today. 4K lifelike hologram technology, which under the hood is a large language model, but conversational AI. We can think about the applications of that are truly endless when it comes to consumer,
Wow.
travel, transportation, the enterprise context.
Do you know where my brain goes on all of this?
I can only imagine.
This is because I'm a dork. I'm thinking, how much energy does it take to power the servers to make this happen?
This is one of the things we're seeing is, it's driving the cost of almost near zero. Right? Of course, yes, we're thinking about the applications of power and those kinds of things. Just there's a lot of the laws out there, as we know. There's not just Moore's law and the scaling law. One of the laws I think comes into play here, and I think about often that I think our listeners might be interested in, is Amara's law. Do you know about Amara's law?
I don't. Take me through this.
Well, I'll take you through
I've heard of this, but I'm looking forward to get educated here.
At the surface level,
okay.
What it really comes down to is that we as a society tend to overestimate the impact of technology.
Oh, okay. I have
in the
heard
short
this.
run,
okay.
but then underestimate its impact in the long run. And so the law itself is pretty straightforward, but I think what we're seeing here, not just with AI, it's a prime example of this, the application of this law, but synthetic reality itself is around, yes, it's here, it has massive impacts, but we're really not going to see it, I think, this year. I truly believe I'm not much to predict the future by any means. My crystal ball is probably cloudy.
If you could, can I get some lottery numbers?
Yeah, there you go. That's not coming from me.
Okay, dang.
And I say all this because we've seen these advancements in artificial intelligence, multimodal, multi-agent technology. This year is going to be around trust and transparency, right? Trust and transparency, because we're going to have
That's interesting.
There's a long road ahead of us for what does this really mean for society and in our business.
Yeah, because there's so many misconceptions out there just to begin with. And there's so much out there that we see at the Tech Council where people are just concerned that, it's going to take these jobs away. And it's just, I understand that as a cursory, just first flash of what could happen, but it's no. I look at how AI has impacted my life, and it's taken tasks off my desk that opens my brain to do the things that I really like to do. And that's how I think the world needs to be looking at the fact that this isn't getting rid of jobs. It is creating jobs we don't even know exist right now.
That's right.
Because it is not net sum zero, man. The pie just gets bigger.
It gets bigger. And then think about the applications of this. And it's like the use cases we see today.
Yeah.
And look, let's be real. The creators of these technologies and the research that goes into this, unlike other technologies before it, is like the end game is not to create AGI. Sure, we can have that conversation. But I think the exciting part of this is they themselves, the researchers who are creating this and putting this technology out into the world, are also just as excited when they see applications. In this case, like, did they really try to, I'm generalizing.
Yeah.
Was the intent to create a technology that could be used so that we can create someone's digital likeness? That was not the intent, but we, as thinking about in the business world, about applying this in new ways, that's the innovation.
See, that's the great way to look at that. That's the thing I was looking for. That's the magic right there, Larry, because that's exactly right. It's the idea that these tools are being created, but not with one specific end purpose in mind. But we have this tool, and the human brain says, wait a second, I have this tool, I put them together, and I'm creating a whole new tool, and hence synthetic, right?
It's synthetic capability, right? And so we didn't talk about synthetic data, but underpinning all of this is yes, there's the manifestation of, in this case, an avatar, or maybe the physical embodiment of AI through a robot or a humanoid robotic, whatever. Robotics, but the synthetic data that's used to actually power these things is that the reality in the enterprise is, yes, we want to be able to test large language models or create avatars, in this case, synthetic reality avatars. The synthetic reality comes back to not just the avatar, but the data that's used to actually power it as well, right? And so there's a big movement we're seeing around synthetic data.
We got to talk about that because I have not heard of synthetic data. Sure. So what is up with that?
So as the statement implies, it's like, we just don't want to throw new technology across enterprise systems and saying using personally identifiable information, large volumes of synthetic data, as the statement implies, to essentially run these models or essentially test these out.
To actually, from a testing standpoint, especially that way you can really see how it reacts without exposing people or creating something crazy before you can pull the plug on it.
But you have to do it at a scale that actually is commensurate with using it in an enterprise context.
Okay, yeah, so you got to create that massive scale to see how it's really going to work if it were put into the real world, not just a really small defined data. So, hey, it looks pretty good here.
Exactly. It then gets into, again, we're traversing the article, but a lot of this comes down to how do you put guardrails around this? Like all things, I mentioned trust and transparency. We talk often about, there's the adage of you trust and then verify. We like to think it's flipping the script here. You got to verify and then trust.
Verify, then trust. Let's talk about that, because that's really cool. Because in this day and age, as you mentioned before, with the deep fakes that go back years and years, where people were literally believing some things that were like not real. So the idea of verifying before trusting,
Yes.
man, how important is that, and how much more complicated that's going to get. But then I think about the tools that can be created to help do the verification, right?
There's a massive, not just movement, it's been around for quite some time.
Okay.
And you start thinking about content authenticity.
Yeah.
And we talk often, think about in the industry, there's this idea of a digital nutrition label. So you look on the back
that's
of,
so cool. I love
like,
that.
What exactly is in this bottle of water? Or what exactly what's going into this? This idea of digital nutrition labels is something like I think we'll see a lot more of in terms of what am I actually seeing beyond metadata?
How much filler is in my data?
There you go. Exactly.
Oh my God.
But
it's lacking in vitamin C completely.
There you go. But all I have to say is you're seeing content authentication initiatives as a CAI, not CIA, CAI.
Right.
Is one of the bigger ones. And you're seeing a lot of the, not just hyperscalers, but a lot of the content creator tools and technologies get on board with, because they themselves are integrating Gen AI capabilities, synthetic reality capabilities inside their technology, but they themselves don't want to be the source of misinformation, disinformation.
Of course.
So this whole movement, again, trust and transparency is, I think we're going to see a massive uptick in what is trustworthy, what was the source of it,
Okay.
right? Where did it come from? The provenance of the content or the provenance of the asset itself. Yeah, so content authentication, authorization of what it actually is. We're going to see a whole lot more of that, not just as in the tools that we use, but also from the companies that we can engage with.
Of course.
Back to building trust.
Oh, that's so interesting. That is something I'm going to be thinking about, because I can't believe, it's 2025, and it's a whole new year to start thinking about what's ahead. And that is just something that's just so important, because I think that has been freaking so many people out. Yeah. And I love that idea of, you verify it first. Once I verify it, then I can consider trusting.
That's right. It's so scary, right? And you start looking at, again, we go back to the deep fakes conversation or topic we talked about, is you can tell, right? The uncanny valley is very real, but in your mind, like, there's something off about this. And you start looking at what these models are creating today, and it's like someone's likeness.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to tell. We're now beyond looking at avatars with 6 fingers or awkward gazing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's truly uncanny, to the point where not just the voice, but someone's likeness, and then comes the laws. And I'm not in a place to speak to the laws behind this, but we're now seeing, expect out of California and otherwise, but we're seeing advancements in the laws that are essentially, I think, a signal for what's coming with regards to not just the creation of someone's likeness, Jonathan, but what does that mean after someone passes on? There's a lot of talk about, can we create someone's likeness after they pass on posthumously?
Right.
Not just a wild time, but the capabilities are truly endless.
Yeah. On the legal side, it's so interesting to me, because obviously the law has never been able to keep up with the speed of technology. And I think that's just getting worse, but we are seeing some more proactiveness around likenesses and what that means for IP and all that kind of stuff.
Well, especially
oh my goodness,
in Hollywood and all these kind of things.
Right.
Actors and what does that mean for someone's likeness to carry on?
Yeah, we're seeing that in all these different contract negotiations where they talk about can't use AI and stuff, and even like with with the longshoremen on the West Coast, like in their contract is like there can be like no automation. Yeah, and it's really, that's a whole other story. But I'm just thinking about how this just really it starts munging the law and tech, and they don't move at the same pace. But we are seeing some pickup around keeping up with it.
A little bit. They're chipping away and trying to keep ahead of it.
Yeah.
Right? Then you get on the path of, I know this, we're navigating a lot of here, which is good. The privacy implications of this.
Oh my goodness.
So to unpack that box on a podcast.
Wow. This is why I said I'm jealous, because you get to think about this stuff all the time and really shape a lot of trajectory on some of this stuff, because you guys are there, you're seeing how, and this is what you're using with your clients at PwC. Is why you had the lab, man.
I appreciate that. It's one thing, the misconception is that most labs, I'll generalize when I say this, is that it's not just to go in tinkering in a lab. This is about applying the technology in new and innovative ways, but also bringing those to our clients. By the way, in transparency, one of my biggest clients is the firm.
Of course. Right? That's what's so cool. I want to talk about that because I know PwC committed like $1 billion investment or something like that.
Just in the U.S., just $3 billion globally. Yeah.
Globally, to basically fully embrace and use AI to its best purposes to make PwC a better company to better help its clients, and then bring those solutions to help their clients eat your dog food.
That's exactly right. We talk often about being client zero.
I like that.
Not just solve, but if we can enable a capability for ourselves.
Okay.
Or now, as we're recording this podcast, 55,000 or so here in the US, 350,000 globally.
Yeah.
It's less about the numbers, but we're a big organization. And if we can chip away at these capabilities for ourselves. And with thinking about the tech, thinking about the people, we talk about human-led tech powered all the time.
Right.
It's always a combination of things, but then the implications of privacy, policy, regulation,
All the good stuff.
security, all these
Yes.
things, if we could do that for ourselves, then we're probably in a better place to bring that to our clients.
That's so cool. And that's why I think PwC is such a cool company, because I feel like you're truly running like a tech company in so many ways.
Yeah.
It's like, you're actually like, you're innovating, you're out in the market finding what's out there, but you're making that investment for your skunk works, for lack of a better term. And they're looking,
Yes.
looking at what's working and everything like that. And then using that for your own company, and then being able to take those solutions and bring them to your customer.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's truly a unique position to not just point out points of view like this one,
Yeah.
but really think about what's coming, but what's here now. One of the things that we talk about, as I'm sure many of our listeners who work in the innovation space, it's nothing new to think about in horizons.
Okay.
This is one of these things where we talk about Horizon 3, we talk about what's 2 years out, what's really 2 years out that really no one's asking for yet, but we got to think about the patterns and the signals, as any futurist would do. There's Horizon 3, but there's also, come back to the here and now. What are our clients? What are our customers? What is the world asking for?
Totally.
That we can start taking and bringing to market. And this should be applicable to all of our listeners, no matter what enterprise you're in.
Exactly.
Or if you're a content creator, or you're a bank, your insurance, whatever you are. We frame the world of innovation across these horizons because there's Horizon 3, 2 years out. Horizon 1, what's here and now. There's this middle ground of, hey, we've seen some things like this idea of synthetic reality. There's some hypothesis around. And we're going to go test that. We're going to go build. We're going to go engineer to actually, I talk often about, and we push the team to think about this, art of the possible, art of the probable. What's really here right now that no one's really thinking about yet, so that when they ask, or frankly, we could be ahead of it. Which is, I'm telling you all this, and that's where this was born out of. This was born out of Horizon 3.
See, so cool,
and
man. I love it.
Bringing it into existence. And now here we are having a conversation ahead of a year that I think this is going to be on every CIO, COO, CISO's radar, as it should be.
That's why I'm talking to you about it, because I love being able to bring this knowledge, for myself, because I think it's so much fun to learn this. I can be all like the smartest guy out there. But more importantly is for our members of the Tech Council and our listeners outside the Tech Council, they can get a little glimpse of this and start being actionable about it. Keep this front of mind so you're not taken off guard, and that you can be ahead of that curve a little bit. And that's why we really rely on PwC being our partner on all things AI and stuff like this to make this happen. And I have so much fun talking to you on this stuff. It's always great, man.
Appreciate the opportunity. And again, it's one of these things where you may not see the term synthetic reality to the masses, but the underpinnings what we're talking about here are what we should be thinking about. And hopefully we do see more SR in the world.
That's what it's all about. And I look forward to our next discussion, because there's always something new to talk about. And that's what I have you here for, Larry. You're the best, dude.
John, I appreciate you.
Absolutely.